I'm always a fan of, and it's one of my sayings is you got to execute violently. Let's go execute. If you don't execute, then those are opportunities missed, and that's a time waster. As a leader, you have to have extreme ownership. As a leader, you've got to motivate, encourage, and discipline your organization to operate at that same high level.
And in your career, what's been the most rewarding innovation you've developed or implemented?
I think throughout my career, seeing clinicians having access to daily pay, being able to get paid at the end of their shift for the hours that they earned. They've done their work for the day, and to not have the access to that money right away is a bit of a disservice in some regards.
So as a Marine Corps veteran, what principles from your military experience have shaped your leadership approach?
I think the biggest one is discipline. I take it for granted how disciplined the Marine Corps helped me to become.
Welcome to another episode of Leadership Talks. I'm Martin Rowinski, CEO of Boardsi. And today we have a privilege of speaking with Aaron Lills, aka Captain.
Yes.
And he is the CEO of Per Diem Therapy Xperts and a true innovator in healthcare staffing with nearly 2 decades of leadership experience from the United States Marine Corps to executive roles in healthcare staffing and financial services. Aaron has built a reputation as a strategic leader with a passion for operational excellence. At Per Diem Therapy Xperts, Aaron and his team are revolutionizing the Per Diem therapy staffing model, providing healthcare facilities with app-based, on-demand access to qualified therapists. We are excited to dive into Aaron's journey, his insights on healthcare innovation, and his approach to overcoming the complexities of staffing in today's dynamic environment. Let's get started, Aaron.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Martin. I appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm running from meetings to meetings, so you get me in the Tesla today, but excited to be here.
Awesome. No, I'm glad you made it, and Tesla will do. What inspired you to create Per Diem Therapy Xperts, and how have you approached transforming the traditional staffing model in healthcare?
Sure. So there's a teeny bit of backstory. I was a founder at Gale Healthcare Solutions. We made a mobile app there that was innovative for nurse staffing, and we grew a really good sized company. We didn't quite finish the way we wanted to. The economy is different now, post pandemic, and so I decided to venture out on my own. And I partnered up with Saritha Ramasamy, and she's a doctor of physical therapy, saying, "Aaron, no one's doing this in our space. Come help us." And what I find is that healthcare is so big, healthcare staffing specifically, and we're able to look at different niches.
That is awesome. And in your career, what's been the most rewarding innovation you've developed or implemented?
I think throughout my career, seeing clinicians having access to daily pay, being able to get paid at the end of their shift for the hours that they earned. If you think about the traditional 2 week or even sometimes 1 month payment models, we owe those clinicians money. They've done their work for the day, and to not have the access to that money right away is a bit of a disservice in some regards. And so being able to provide clinicians with their earnings at the end of a shift is truly rewarding. Some of the demographics, single moms need to pay for groceries and things like that. So that's a huge benefit for our clinicians as well as other clinicians that work per diem to be able to have access to daily pay. So we're very excited about that.
That is incredible. That's awesome. And I agree. And speaking of service, sir, thank you for your
Oh, I was a
service.
happy
You
volunteer.
are a Marine Corps veteran.
Yes.
So as a Marine Corps veteran, what principles from your military experience have shaped your leadership approach in healthcare or maybe in business?
I think the biggest one is discipline. I take it for granted how disciplined the Marine Corps helped me to become. But waking up early every single day, making your bed, all those little details make that discipline to where now, when my very first role in healthcare staffing was basically sales. and they make 100 phone calls a day. But the discipline of sitting there and making those dials, making the outbound calls, and truly it wasn't even selling. Do you need help? Are you fully staffed? And everyone in healthcare usually says, no, I'm not. And so being able to help them with that service of providing them clinicians added value to them, took care of our company, but it took making 100 calls a day for 18 months to, get my first office off the ground. But some people wouldn't do that. Some people would stop after 90 calls or 50 calls and say, no one's buying. No, they're buying. You have to just reach out and do the hard things. So being focused and disciplined on doing those hard day-to-day tasks that are mundane, not cute, not pretty, but needs to happen to get the name out for the brand and for the companies that we're working with was very, very important.
Yeah, you never know. It could have been that 81st or 93rd call that got you what you were looking for. You got to take the shots.
Absolutely.
Not going to get him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't miss that out. What challenges, if any, did you face transitioning from military to a corporate environment, and how did you overcome them?
So in military, I was a 26, 27-year-old guy, and I was responsible for 30 people, and I had a budget of, I don't know, 15, $20 million. I was the guy. I was in charge. And then as you grow on, I had 250 Marines and $100 million budget. And then when I transitioned to corporate America, my very first job, I sat in a cubicle. It was barely big enough for my body to sit in. And and then I told people what to do. And no one liked that. And I was the new guy. Like, hey, who's the new guy telling everyone what to do? Because I was used to being the captain in charge of hundreds of Marines and sailors, and so that was a change to not be in charge. Be you had so much autonomy in the Marines. That's the hard thing, and that's why they spend years training you. Because I'm out in the middle of Iraq by myself. You can't go ask the general, "What do you think about this?" And you're able to just make decisions. And so that was different in corporate America. That was a learning experience for me. I'm grateful for it because I learned how to operate in that more structured environment, a little bit more bureaucracy, a little bit more, maybe there was more planning and forethought as opposed to the Marine Corps where we just get things done. But that was a tough transition for about 4 or 5 years actually.
And what about the budget? Did you have $100 million budget?
I did not. I did not. I couldn't even get an assistant. You know the joke, Martin, is they say, what do you call a retired what's the greeter called at Walmart? It's like, well, he'd call him sir because he was a general in the Marines or whatever, and now you're just a greeter at Walmart. So it's a funny way things can work out. But again, I was grateful for my time in service. I was grateful for my time in corporate America. That taught me some different things too, and so that changed and softened my approach to where now I can talk to a lot of different people of different backgrounds and be able to communicate effectively, which is the key of all that is to learn how to communicate in those languages. The Marine Corps and corporate America, those are all subcultures. If you can't communicate well, you can't be effective. So now take that and then multiply it across my entrepreneurial journey. Now you can communicate across all different sectors. You can talk to Marines, you can talk to business people, you can talk to other entrepreneurs. And again, that's where you have to have effective communication to be a successful leader.
That's 100% correct. And the healthcare industry has unique staffing challenges, and I'm sure you know all about them. How do you lead your team in navigating and adapting to these changes?
Yeah. So great question. When I think about the economy, you got to be adaptable. So, as an example, as we were growing some of our other staffing companies during the pandemic, it was, innovating in real time because we were all facing new challenges. I remember nurses calling me saying, Aaron, I don't have a mask. They have, you know, food face shields for me to wear. I don't feel safe. Or Aaron, I don't have access to, an N95 and all these different pieces. And you have to say, okay, how can we evolve? How do we figure out what we can do to make things happen? And so we partner with several facilities to say, okay, how do we do a share on the equipment to make sure our clinicians that we're sending you are also safe? And so you
Yeah.
have to see those problems as opportunities to head on. And I think even before that, it comes back to partnerships and relationships. to having those good relationships with your clients, your customers, your clinicians, to be able to innovate and adapt in real time. And so I think relationship building is key. I think being open minded is key. And then, I'm always a fan of, and it's one of my sayings, is you got to execute violently. And it's hard to say that in corporate America or in the entrepreneurial world, but because it makes more sense in combat, but it still works because you have to be able to say, okay, this is our idea, let's go execute. If you don't execute, then those are opportunities missed, and that's a time waster, especially in healthcare, especially where people are at the other end of this, patients needing care are at the other end of the spectrum, not just filling a shift. There's people that need care, and that's what always motivates me to make sure that we're working as diligently as possible for the patients.
That's awesome. Yeah, violently. I love it. Can you share a time when you faced a significant setback in your career and what kept you motivated to move forward?
Sure. Even one time, actually a couple times. I'll give you one military story. I almost got fired. I almost got relieved of command, and that's a big deal. That's like a bad mark. And
Yeah.
I inherited a platoon, and these were guys who were like the Chicago Bad News Bears, right? They were just doing whatever. They didn't have a platoon commander. They would come in at 10 o'clock. I mean, like, who are you guys? And so, sure enough, they did a couple bad things, and someone got hurt, and I was the
Mm.
platoon commander, and so it's like, hey, if you don't get your platoon shaped up, you will be relieved of command. It's like, did you see these guys? Look what you gave me. I, and it's the Marines and the military. You can't just fire someone. You're like, oh, you're a bad person. You're fired. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. So then we had to institute daily stand-up calls or meetings, and formation, morning PT. And so I used these little tools that I had in my tool belt to whip that platoon into shape. And I had a great senior enlisted advisor that helped get them turned around. And that became one of the model platoons. But I learned even more from it, Martin, is that I had to have extreme ownership. I love Jocko's book. I love Leaf Babin and Jocko Willenick wrote Extreme Ownership. It's very much these same principles from the Marines, the SEALs, elite units that operate. As a leader, you have to have extreme ownership. And extreme in this context means I didn't do anything wrong. I'm waking up early. I'm going to formation. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But as a leader, you've got to motivate, encourage, and discipline your organization to operate at that same high level.
That's awesome. And outside of work, what drives you personally to keep innovating and pushing the boundaries of traditional models?
I think I don't limit myself to just staffing. I love to read and research, and I can show you my vision board someplace, but I took a test drive of a Tesla in 2014, and I had it on my board for about 7 years, and it was a goal. But in that same 7 years, I was looking at converting diesel to biodiesel, buying a diesel vehicle, and learning how the fuel works. And so it wasn't just about, oh, that's a cool car. I care about the environment. I care about all that stuff. And it was like learning to see how could I do my little part, and seeing some of the innovations, even with Tesla now, as a technology person, seeing their app and see how everything works. You have to be a constant sponge of information to see what are the newest things, what's Elon doing, what's other people doing. I'm into 3D house printing. That's the newest technology in the housing sector. Housing is everyone's biggest expense. How do we make it more
Yeah.
affordable? How do we help more people? So especially, we're in Las Vegas. You guys have a lot of land out there, but Tampa, we're running out. So just seeing all these different innovations and different ways to help society, it fuels me. It's fun to see how can I help my little dent on the world. What can I do to make a small bit of difference? But for me, it does start at home. I've been married for 13 years to my best friend and partner, Madeline, and we have two girls, two little daughters. And so I want to lead for them. I want to be a good role model and example of what the family should look like, what your husband should look like, and maybe it's more of a traditional view, but I think it's still important for them. I want to walk them down the aisle someday and get them married off to some godly men. So, I want to model it. I try to model that behavior just for my family.
That's awesome. Aaron, so the nickname Captain, where does that come from? I'm going to guess military, but I could be wrong.
So, and it's not like a II captain. That's a ship captain. That's a much higher captain. But the last rank I when I transitioned out of the Marine Corps was captain. So I was a captain of Marines, and it's one of those things that I took it for granted when I came in to or transitioned out of the military. That but people do want to be led. I think leadership is so undervalued in so many different segments of business that if you truly have great leaders and you pour into them and empower them and correct them if they make mistakes, but also give them a little bit of latitude to make a mistake, you're a better organization for it. And when I was at my last company, I had about 600 employees that worked with us, and I was the chief operating officer. And so people wanted to be led. They wanted to know that their leader was energized about the project. They wanted to be excited about what's going on. And so I fed off of that energy, and everyone fed off the energy, and it makes for a better organization. And that's where they lovingly called me the captain. So
That's awesome. Awesome. So, last question. In your personal life, sounds like you have an awesome wife, best friend, great kids. You're an awesome father, I can tell. What do you like to do for fun? What is your go to?
oh gosh, you know, the kids are getting older, so I can do a few more things. You're gonna laugh. I used to be a triathlete. I don't have as much time for that now, or I haven't. I'll say it differently. I haven't dedicated enough time to that yet. But uh, sometimes I'm in a PlayStation uh, league for video games. So and 2 hours a week, maybe an hour on Saturday, hour on Friday night, just to decompress and do something silly. That's my stress reliever. I got my little headphones on and just playing little video games to kind of reset the brain, because there's a lot, running companies and consulting
Yeah.
clients for staffing, and truly trying to solve some big problems. It can take up a lot of headspace, so sometimes I got to hit the reset button and do something a little bit less taxing on the brain.
So what's your game? What's your go-to
Okay,
game?
so this is a big deal. So now college football landscape has changed, and we all used to play NCAA football. And now that was a big deal. They couldn't do it anymore because of the name, image, likeness problems. So now the NCAA and EA Sports just figured it out. Everyone's gotten a little bit of money, got the money worked out. And so now we're back on NCAA 2024. And so it was a 10-year gap in the football game. But now, we were all playing the old game for 10 years. That's pathetic. But now we got the new game, new players. Everyone's got deals and scholarships, and it's great.
And in Texas, they're pulling up in Lamborghinis.
No, hey, there's big boosters out there. So I that's a whole sidebar, but it's like such a rough game that if you get hurt, if you have any problems, there's not like a big pension. And yes, we want everyone to get their education and graduate with a degree,
Yeah.
but if you can't walk or if something, the concussions and all that stuff. So I think they're trying to innovate in that space to say, okay, how do we take care of these players long term? I would do more of a IRA type of model where they get an annuity or something like that over 20, 30 years. They can't access it until they're 30 years old, but they're trying, and I think that's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's a start for sure.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a Call of Duty guy also on PlayStation.
All right, see, look at that. Nice. I've taken a break from the first person shooter and military games, so it's I think I've retired from that for now.
That's awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your commitment to innovation in healthcare staffing and the principles you carry from the Marine Corps to the corporate world are truly inspiring. It's clear that your leadership is making a lasting impact, though, not only in healthcare industry, but also professional and obviously personal. So to our listeners, we hope you found this conversation valuable, as I did. And stay tuned for more inspiring discussions on leadership talks. And Aaron, what's the best way people can connect with you?
Sure. I'm big on LinkedIn. I think it's a great platform. I try to post a lot of useful, helpful content, both about personal motivation, leadership, and of course, all things staffing, especially with technology. So feel free to connect and follow me there on LinkedIn. I also have a website, aaronlittles.com, for my books and other things that come out over the next couple of months here. We got some exciting things happening. So again, I try to be visual on all the different social medias, but LinkedIn and the website are the biggest.
Awesome. And just for anybody, if they're listening, they're in healthcare industry, looking for an advisor or board member, Aaron's also a member at Boardsi, so you know where to find him. Hit us up. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and passion, Aaron.
Thank you. I will do. Thanks so much, Martin, for the time. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Stand by.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Talks. Don't forget to subscribe for more insightful conversations with industry leaders. Your support means a lot to us.